Welcome to Scone Bake and Beyond. Hi, I'm Kathy, and I enjoy making scones, muffins, cookies, and all sorts of delicious baked goodies. Today, I'm sharing with you my recipe for chocolate cherry cupcakes with a silky smooth chocolate mousseline cream frosting and with a little cherry on top. These chocolate cupcakes are filled with a cherry pie filling, and then I topped them with that silky smooth chocolate mousseline cream frosting. Your family will love these cupcakes. So, let's bake. So the first thing we want to get started is on the pastry cream. And the pastry cream is for that silky smooth chocolate mousseline cream frosting. And the pastry cream has to be chilled a little bit and then kind of brought back to room temperature. So we need to get this started first so it has time to chill and bring back to room temperature. So I have here a large bowl, and to that I'm going to add 1 large egg and 1 large egg yolk. And to that I'm going to add 1/3 cup of caster sugar. We're going to whisk this together until it gets nice and light and fluffy. See how light those eggs are getting? And that's what we're looking for, is they're getting a nice light yellow color and they're getting a little bit fluffy. Here we go. So now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And we're going to whisk that in until it is all smooth. It's nice, light, and smooth, and there isn't any lumps from the cornstarch. So we're going to set this aside. So I have here a pan, and I set my heat on medium-low. And to that, I'm going to add 1 cup of cream and 1/3 cup of non-fat milk. We're going to also add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So now we want to bring this up to where it's just going to start simmering or boiling. We just want to kind of scald the milk, and we're going to see little bubbles just around the edges. And that's what we're going to bring it to. It's just what we call a scald. So as you can see, there's little bubbles going around the edges right now, and actually a little bit coming up the middle. What I don't want to start doing is burning the milk on the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to take this off the heat. Oh, let me get a little pad for myself here. There we go. And we're going to take about 1/3 cup of the hot milk mixture, and we're going to whisk it into our egg mixture. What I don't want to do is scramble the eggs, so I just want to temper the eggs with a little bit of hot milk. And once we get that totally incorporated and we're warming up the eggs slowly, now I can start slowly adding the rest of the milk cream mixture. And I want to keep on whisking the entire time. And once we get that totally incorporated, I'm going to actually add all this back into the pot. So I want to keep this on a medium-low heat, and I want to keep on whisking it until it gets really thick, like pudding. And what you want to see is start kind of boiling, like it's a little bloop, bloop. I call it like lava or mud pits. I'm going to take it off the heat and just give it a little bit more whisk just to smooth it out. There we go. Oh, this stuff is so delicious. Just on its own, it's so delicious. So now what I want to do is, you get a lot of times little lumps, and sometimes some of the egg does curdle. So what I want to do is I want to put it through a sieve and get any little bit of curdle out or any little bit of lumps out. So I'm going to put it through a sieve, and it's going to take a few minutes. It's kind of a slow process, but it will come through the sieve. Okay, now that I get everything through there, you see all that on the bottom? Well, we want all that. So we're just going to scrape off the bottom of my sieve here. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of flatten that out a little bit. So what I want to do now is I want to put some plastic wrap on top. And I don't want it to create a film on top of the pastry cream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plastic wrap and I'm going to press it down onto the hot pastry cream. And I got to give this some time to cool, and that's why we're making this first before we get started on our cupcakes. So So I get that nice pressed down, totally sealed up. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for an hour or two, depending upon how long it takes to cool it totally down. While our pastry cream is in the refrigerator chilling, it's time to get these delicious chocolate cupcakes going. So I have in this bowl 2 ounces of dark chocolate, which I've broken up into small little pieces. And to that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. I'm going to add 1/3 cup of boiling hot water. Now the espresso powder was there to add a little bit more boost to the chocolate flavor of the cupcakes. It will not add a coffee flavor to the cupcakes. So I'm going to stir this around until it's nice and smooth. So it's nice and smooth and the chocolate is all melted. So we're going to set this aside and let it cool down. Okay, it's time to get the rest of the cake going. So I have here 3/4 cup of unbleached flour, and to that I'm adding 1/4 cup of whole wheat pastry flour. I like adding a little whole wheat flour to all my baked goods, so I use pastry flour because it's lighter in texture. And to that, I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of cocoa powder just to boost up that chocolate flavor even more. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to put this through a sieve, or you just sift it together. I just put it through a sieve. And when you get the little clumps down there, just take your whisk and just keep on pressing them through. If they're not going through with the whisk, just press them through with your fingers. So I'm going to whisk this together in the bowl now. Set this aside. In a small bowl, I'm going to combine 1/4 cup of canola oil, 1 large egg, 1 cup of sugar, and 2/3 cup of buttermilk. I'm going to whisk this together. Once that's combined, I'm going to add the chocolate, but I want to make sure this isn't hot. So I just want to feel it. And right now it's a little bit too warm to add, so I'm going to wait a few more minutes and then I'm going to add it. Okay, my chocolate mixture is finally cooled down. I don't want it over 100 degrees, and somewhere in the 80s is just the perfect temperature for it. I just don't want it so hot that it's going to start cooking those eggs. So I'm going to add that in. Let's see here. I'm going to whisk this in. There we go. Now that that's combined, we're going to add that to our flour mixture. Pour that in. And we're just going to take our spatula and mix it up. We're going to stir it until it's nice and smooth. Okay, now that our batter is nice and smooth, and take out that spatula here. There we go. And I have prepared my muffin tin with little paper liners, and I always prepare my muffin tin with paper liners whenever I make cupcakes. And I like using a bowl with a little spout on it because I like pouring my cupcake batter right into the cupcake liners, and then I use the spoon to kind of catch the drip to go from one to the other. I find this makes it a little bit neater. I'm sure I'll make a mess as I do this because I just said it'll make it neater. The other thing is you only want to fill these to 1/2 to 2/3 full, because if you get like 3/4 full, they'll come up and then they'll just kind of spread out and they won't be that pretty. So, and this does make 12 cupcakes. So we'll pour this in, catch it, pour it in, catch it. There. And then I always go around and look to see if there's one I didn't quite get enough into. There we go. There we are. I preheated my oven to 350 degrees and we're going to bake these for 17 to 20 minutes. While the cupcakes are baking, it's time to get that delicious cherry pie filling together. So I have here a 27-ounce can of, these are red tart cherries, and they're in water. So I'm going to just drain out all the juices out of here. And I'll put the cherries in this bowl here. And now I'm going to take this juice and put it in my measuring cup. So now what I want to do is I want to top each cupcake with a cherry. So I go through the cherries and I try to pick out the 12 best cherries I can find in here. And to my cherries here, I want to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice just to give it a little brighter flavor. And I'm just going to give that just a little stir. So I have a medium-sized pot, and I have this on medium heat. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of the reserved cherry juice. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of castor sugar and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to whisk that together, and I'm going to bring that to just a simmer. The liquid is just starting to simmer right now, so what we're going to do is add the cherries, and we're going to keep this on medium heat until the cherries get cooked and the juices get nice and thick and translucent. Okay, it's come up to a boil. As you can see, it's nice and clear. It doesn't have that milky look anymore, and it's getting really thick. So we're going to let this boil for about a minute, and then we're going to take it off the heat. Okay, it's nice, thick, and translucent. So we're going to take it off the heat now, and I'm just going to put it in this bowl here to let it cool down. Okay, it's been 20 minutes and the cupcakes test done. And how I test my cupcakes is I have a instant read thermometer, and if they're 200 degrees, then they are done. Otherwise, you can just use a toothpick or a skewer, and if it comes out clean, it's done. So we're going to let these cool for 5 minutes, and then we're going to put them, take them out of the pan and let them cool completely on the cooling rack. Our cupcakes are cooled down, and now it's time to get that delicious chocolate mousseline cream frosting. So I have here a double boiler, and there's about 1 inch of water in there, and I've got this on low. I just want to bring that water up to being warm. I don't want it to boil in there. And I have 3 ounces of nice 60% dark chocolate, and I've just broken it up into small little pieces here. So I'm going to put it in here and get that chocolate melting. Okay, we're going to remove this from the heat. Just be careful, that is steamy down there. There we go. So here's my chocolate. It's all nice and smooth. So we're going to set that aside and let that cool down. So while the chocolate is cooling down, it's time to get the rest of our mousseline ready here. I have 13 tablespoons of room temperature unsalted butter. I'll put that in my mixer. And I'm going to put this on medium-high speed. I'm going to beat it for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's nice, light, and fluffy. Okay, my butter is nice, light, and fluffy. It's been about 4 minutes. I had to let it sit here for a little bit because my chocolate wasn't quite cooled down enough, but now it is. You don't want this chocolate too warm, but you don't want it to start setting up either. So I took this off of here because it's just easier for me to pour this without it in the mixer right there. So just going to pour the chocolate in the butter. I don't want this chocolate so warm it'll start melting the butter. And to that, I'm going to add 1/8 teaspoon of salt. We're going to beat this on medium-high speed for about 2 minutes until it's nice and smooth. And we do need to scrape down the sides every once in a while and make sure all that butter and that chocolate is mixed together. Okay, looking nice and smooth and creamy. Drop that down. So here is the pastry cream that we made earlier. And I'm just going to kind of mix it up a little bit. Just make sure I kind of stir it up a little bit. Get all nice and smooth again. And like I said, this stuff is just delicious on its own. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding about a quarter cup at a time into here. We're going to beat it for about 15 to 30 seconds. Make sure it's fully incorporated. Scrape down the sides and keep on doing that. So I'm going to add about a quarter cup in there. And we're just going to keep on doing that until it's totally combined. And we're going to have this on medium-low speed. Okay, so there's that one. There we are, another scoop in there, scrape it down, and get that one fully incorporated. Okay, I put in my last addition. I'm going to scrape down the bowl one more time, and then I'm going to beat it for about 1 more minute, make sure it's all incorporated. Okay, it's nice, silky smooth. It looks so good. And it tastes really good. What I like about this frosting is not overly sweet. It's really silky smooth, but not overly sweet. So I'll get everything off the beater there. There we go. Take it off. And there we have it. Just going to give it one more little mix with my spatula. So what we're going to do is I have a 16-inch piping bag. I fitted it with a 1M tip, and we're going to fill up the bag. What I haven't told you is what inspired this recipe. My son, for his birthday every year, has always asked for a chocolate cake with chocolate frosting with a cherry pie filling in the middle. And I decided, well, why don't I make that same cake, just change it up a little bit and make it into cupcakes. And so that was the inspiration, is my son's birthday cake, to make that into cupcakes. So we've got to get that kind of down to the bottom so I can get all of this in here. We're going to get this in the bag, and then we're going to get ready to assemble here. Here's my cherry pie filling, and it's still kind of too saucy, I guess I'd call it. So what I want to do is I want to drain that out a bit. So I'm just going to put some in my sieve here. And it's okay if you kind of crush up these cherries just a little bit so that they fit inside the cupcakes. And we're just going to kind of get some of that excess juice out of there. As you can see, it's dripping out. And we don't want that much in the middle of our cupcakes. And this recipe for the cherries does make more than what you need, but these cherries would make wonderful tarts on top of ice cream, or just make more cupcakes and put them in the middle of those. There we go. But this recipe does make more. That's because every time I went to the store, all I could ever find was a 27-ounce can of cherries. So if you can find a 15-ounce can, just half the recipe, and that'll be just about the right amount. Get that back in there. There. And you can see I got a lot out of there, and we don't want all that in our cupcakes. So I have here an apple core, and this is what I use to cut out the center of my cupcakes. Just go in the center, put all the way down, gonna give it a twist and bring it back up. And this is where all the centers of our cupcakes will go. And don't worry, we will eat those later. So I'm gonna do that to all of these. And there is my last one. Set that aside. We will eat those. So now I'm going to take these cherries, and I'm just going to kind of pack them down inside here. Okay, there's our last one. Like I said, we have more than what we need for this recipe. This would be great in a tart, even make homemade Pop-Tarts with it. You can put on ice cream, or you can just make more cupcakes. So here is our chocolate mousseline cream frosting. And what we're going to do is we're going to pipe this on. And so how I pipe is I go straight down, and I let it kind of ooze out, and then I swirl it around and just kind of bring it up, and then stop squeezing, and then bring it off. So we're going to do that to each one of these. There's the last one. Oh, they look so pretty, but we need to add just that little bit of topping on top, which we're going to add a cherry on the top of each one of these. And hopefully I've picked out nice looking cherries. And there we have it, our chocolate cherry cupcakes with a, oh my goodness, silky smooth, delicious chocolate mousseline cream frosting. These are so good, and now I get to have one. I always look forward to this part. So now take off the little paper here. And we'll see if we can do this without making too much of a mess with this frosting on top. That chocolate mousseline cream frosting is so silky smooth. It's not really sweet. It's really light and fluffy. And I hope you can see inside the cherry pie filling inside, This cupcake is so light and delicious, and that cherry pie filling is, oh, and of course the frosting. Anyway, if you like this recipe, please go to my website, sconebaking.com, and there is a link below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for future videos. I hope this recipe inspires you to bake. Thank you for watching.